Hello, welcome to the Champaign-Urbana Mass Transit District. My name is Jane Sullivan. I've worked here at MTD for about 8 years. My job is to manage all of our environmental sustainability efforts here at MTD. I also apply for and manage all of our state and federal grant funding, and I manage our environmental affairs. But what I'm here to talk to you about today is MTD's commitment to environmental sustainability. I hope you all are familiar with MTD here in town. We provide the public bus service for Champaign, Urbana, Savoy. We have heavy service on the University of Illinois campus. We have service to Parkland. And we make efforts and do whatever we can to be environmentally responsible and sustainable and make sure we're always doing our part. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what we've done in MTD's vehicles and our facilities to accomplish that. MTD provides fixed route bus service all over town. We also have what's called ADA paratransit service. That's for persons with disabilities or have some sort of situation or condition where they can't ride our regular fixed routes. So people apply for that service and they can receive door-to-door service on smaller buses or vans. So you can see here, I think this image is actually a few years old, but just giving you a picture of MTD's routes and the areas of the community that we serve. At MTD, we have 111 buses. We have 40-foot buses like the one you're seeing here. We also have 60-foot buses. Those are, of course, the longer ones, and they have that kind of bendy accordion thing in the middle. So you might have seen those around town. We also have just a few 30-foot buses that are just a little smaller than the 40-foot buses. And we have some vans and shorter buses as well. Of all 111 buses this year, 2020, about 95% of those will be hybrid buses. These are diesel electric hybrids, so they still use diesel fuel, but they use less of it, about 40% less, and they have batteries on them. So it works kind of like a Prius. You don't plug it in or anything, but the batteries kind of supplement the rest of the bus, and it can move on less diesel fuel. MTD started buying hybrid buses in 2009, and since then, every bus we've replaced has been with a hybrid. So we are replacing older standard diesel buses that use diesel fuel and therefore have emissions and can cause pollution and stuff like that. We've been replacing those with hybrids since 2009. Every bus we've purchased has been a hybrid. We will introduce our first zero emission buses at the end of this year. And you see that in this bar chart, the 2% at the top. These are hydrogen fuel cell electric buses. And we will replace 2 of our standard diesel 60-foot articulated buses with a zero emission hydrogen fuel cell electric bus, similar to the one you're seeing here. We don't have the buses yet. They will be built in a few months. We're in the planning stages. But what's great about these vehicles is that they can operate as far and as long as our existing buses. One of the challenges with zero emission technology right now for buses is range. Battery electric buses, you have to charge many times throughout the day, and transit agencies are often having to change their bus routes or change their schedules or have drivers or maintenance employees on the clock longer, and you have to make a lot of changes to your service and your processes in order to make sure those buses can keep running. The advantage of hydrogen fuel cell buses is that they fill up once in the morning or the evening, just like our regular buses, and they can run all day. So it's the fuel cell and some batteries on the bus that kind of make the bus move, but it's hydrogen that is the fuel source. And something unique that MTD is doing is we will be producing that hydrogen ourselves on site. We will be building a hydrogen generation and fueling station. And the reason we're doing that is because our goal is to use 100% renewable hydrogen. And right now, there's no way to source renewable hydrogen. Hydrogen is made from electricity and water, and we don't, and it uses a lot of electricity, and we want that electricity to be clean. So we're in the design stages of getting that fueling station and hydrogen generation station. So maybe in the fall of 2020 or definitely spring of 2021, we'll actually see that on our property. A little more information about hydrogen that I already mentioned. Extended range, it's environmentally friendly. The only output from the tailpipe is water vapor. Hydrogen is clean, and we can save a lot of greenhouse gas emissions every year by doing this. Just shifting a little bit and talking about some of our other environmental sustainability efforts. Our admin office has a white roof, so that just means that it's a roof that's white, but the reason it's good for the environment is because it doesn't trap heat up there like a dark colored roof would, and so it decreases some of our cooling needs in the summer. We also, when we installed that new roof, we installed these light tubes. You can kind of see that here in the top left, that little bubble sort of thing. Those are just kind of fancy skylights, but they bring natural light into the building pretty well. So decreases our need for lighting a little bit. You also see here, we have permeable pavers for our administration parking lot. So these pavers are good for the environment because they allow rain and melted snow to infiltrate back into the groundwater system. And so they're just kind of fancy bricks, but they're underneath them are layers of gravel and rock and sand. So this allows water, rain, melted snow to infiltrate back into the groundwater system, and actually it filters it too. So by the time it reaches the water table, it's actually pretty clean. So it reduces runoff, reduces pollution, all of that good stuff, much more environmentally friendly than a standard asphalt or concrete parking lot. That same building, our admin office, has geothermal heating and cooling. So this saves us a lot of natural gas and therefore reduces greenhouse gases. You can see some numbers there of what was estimated to how many greenhouse gas savings were estimated and what we actually saw. So this has been very successful. The geothermal heating and cooling uses Earth's natural temperatures to heat and cool the building. So we have wells outside just under that parking lot that we were just looking at. And when you get that deep into the Earth's temperatures are very stable. So a glycol mixture is run through those wells and then back up to the building. So when it's cold out, that glycol mixture takes heat from the earth and brings it back up to heat the building. And then the opposite happens when it's warm out. That glycol mixture gives heat back to the earth. Just a few other environmental efforts. We have some bus shelters throughout town that have solar panels. We have these special doors for our maintenance facility. Those are the bright orange doors, and these are called rapid roll doors, and it's like a thick tarp material. What we're looking at in that image on the top right is our storage area. So that's where all 111 of those buses are stored, and those buses are going in and out of there all day. So in extreme weather, it's really nice to have these doors that protect from the elements and use little energy and open and close very quickly, rather than those traditional big heavy garage doors that take a while and use a lot of energy. At the bottom of the screen here, you just see some of our recycling efforts. Those are very standard. We make sure to recycle everything we can in all of our facilities. This is now nearly outdated, but I'd like to mention it anyway. For many, many years, in our maintenance facility, that's the facility that stores and services all of the buses. For many years, we used waste oil from the buses to heat that building. So when a mechanic is doing an oil change or an inspection, sometimes oil is recovered from the vehicle that can be safely burned, even though it can't continue to be used in the bus. So we saved that oil, and every year we use it to supplement our heat. So we're using our own waste as energy. We are going to discontinue using these burners this year because we can't have any open flames now that we'll have hydrogen buses. And so we will discontinue these, but I think it's important to see that for many, many years, we saved a lot of energy by using waste oil from the buses as heat. In that same facility, there's a big wash bay, and it's just like a big car wash, but it's what our buses go through. And we've got some older numbers up there, but what's important is this wash bay has a system where we reuse water. So we don't need perfectly clean water in every cycle to clean a bus, right? So we capture some of the water and then reuse it throughout the cycle. So that saves us a lot of fresh water. MTD has something called an environmental management system, and this system is certified by the ISO 14001 standard. This is a voluntary system, a voluntary certification, and it's just a way for us to wrap our arms around all of our environmental efforts and continue to hold ourselves accountable. So we look at all of the things that we might do at MTD, all of the activities, all of the products, all of our processes. We look at all of those and we identify what might impact the environment and we see what we can do to improve that. So we have emergency spill procedures in place so that if any of our hazardous materials were to spill, we have measures in place to make sure they don't make it into the environment. Thankfully, we've never had a large spill, but we have to recognize that we have the potential for that. For example, we fuel all of our buses with diesel on our site, and that requires that we have two 15,000-gallon underground storage tanks to hold all of that diesel. We have a company and a big truck come deliver that diesel fuel. What if that truck spilled that fuel on our property? What if there was damage to the underground tank and fuel released into the environment? None of those things have ever happened, but we need to recognize that those risks exist and we need to make sure we have proper measures in place and that our employees are trained. Another example would be Freon. Freon is used for air conditioning in the buses. Sometimes those air conditioning lines break. That's actually pretty normal as they wear, and it's not super dangerous, but we do want to make sure that no Freon is released into the atmosphere. So we put measures in place to make sure we're replacing those hoses proactively. All of the buses have batteries on them, making sure that those are lasting as long as they can and that there's no leaks, things like that. I've already mentioned the fleet quite a bit. Of course, we have hybrid buses. We're getting these new zero emission buses. Additionally, all of our diesel fuel, we have some soy biodiesel from Illinois soybeans in that. We also have filters on all the buses. They're called diesel particulate filters. And the buses that do use diesel fuel, that filters a lot of the bad stuff out and makes sure that we're keeping the air really clean. The maintenance facility that I mentioned has another cool feature. On the roof is a solar array. There are over 1,200 panels, and this array collects solar energy all day and feeds it right into our building. And so it offsets about 25% of what the building uses. So we're still having to pull from the grid, but we are saving a lot. And you can see a few pictures. First I'll show you this graph. So this just shows the year before and the year after the solar array was installed and what was purchased, what electricity was purchased from the grid. So you can never say exactly by looking just at your energy bills, but you can kind of infer that the difference between, for example, July, this dark green line and the light green line, you can infer that that difference is about what the solar array produced. One of the reasons it's difficult is because we never use the exact same amount of electricity one year to the next. But we have been collecting data, and we are monitoring that system to see how much energy we're saving. Here we go, just a few other pictures of our solar array. And the last thing I want to mention is sustainability is more than just hybrid buses and solar panels. MTD makes an effort to be involved in the community sustainability initiatives, and public transportation inherently is good for the environment. All active transportation is, right? Riding your bike, walking, taking the bus. And so we make efforts to make sure our community is safe and accessible to those uses. If you've noticed some construction happening on campus over the past few years, or are familiar with the MCORE project, MTD is a partner in that project. We received some federal grant funding along with the City of Champaign, the City of Urbana, and the university, and we've all been working together to redesign and reconstruct these streets that you see here to make sure they are safe and accessible to pedestrians, bicyclists, and transit riders. The more individuals in our community using those active forms of transportation, the less cars on the road, the less emissions, the less pollution. It's better for our environment. So many of these projects have already completed. Project 1, 2, and 3 are all complete. We are in the middle of Project 4 as I speak on Wright Street, right along the University of Illinois quad there. And then the last project coming up soon will be Project 5 over on Green Street a little further east. So I want you all to know that these 4 partners have worked hard on this project to make our community more accessible. And I want you to understand how that connects to environmental sustainability. Road construction is annoying to everyone. All of our buses are having to reroute, and it's kind of a mess down there. But in the end, we will have improved sidewalks, crosswalks, bike lanes, transit platforms. Everyone will really benefit. So we're looking forward to seeing that complete and having that positive environmental impact. That is all I have. Normally I pause for questions here, and you all are welcome to send any questions you have to your instructor, and she could maybe try and pass them along to me. But other than that, I appreciate your attention, and it was nice chatting with you guys. That's all I have. Thank you guys.